Can you hear me? All right, thank you so much to Seafair as well as Gal for the invitation. I'm very honored to be here with a great panel today. And I promise you there's no regression results, no equation, but for some of the questions I'm going to raise here, I don't even have answers, okay? So first of all, we will go over the current situation of dietary-related chronic disease, dietary behavior, and dietary patterns. Then we are going to change about transformative changes in the food consumption and production. And I'm going to raise a question about food as medicine. And also we'll talk a little bit about the policy consideration. So if we look at chronic disease in the United States, about 6 out of 10 individuals have chronic disease, and 4 out of 10 have at least 2 chronic disease. And 1 in 3 Americans have pre-diabetes, and 72% have either overweight or obese. If we look at the 10 leading causes of deaths, and most of them can be modified by changing lifestyle. But as Katie said, changing lifestyle is not easy, right? And economists try to see what are the incentives to modify the behavior. And if we look at the dietary behavior among Americans, and here are some statistics. So 70% of the US diets is focused on processed food. And Americans spend 10% of their disposable income on fast food. And also among the high school or middle school students, 60% of them have soft drinks in vending machines. So in a way, it explains why we don't have dietary quality because of those behavior, right? And if we look at adult obesity in the United States, it's about more than 2 in 5 of the US adults having obesity. And of course, we understand obesity prevalence are different or vary by different groups between high income versus low income at different ethnicity backgrounds, as well as different highly educated versus less educated. But overall, obesity accounted for nearly $173 billion in medical expenditure in 2019 dollars. And people talk about, okay, we need to do something. Are we going to do preventive actions, or are we going to do responsive actions, right? There's lots of study in the agriculture economics literature as well as general economics literature as well. And we'll present dietary quality effect, how dietary quality affect poverty and growth, and what are the least cost healthy options by country with different income levels. Here, I would like to present some work which is done with my collaborative research with Mai at Renmin University and her group. So basically, we look at the food consumption in kilogram per capita by different countries or different country groups. So we have China, which is the first panel. The second panel is Asian countries, South Korea and Japan. And third panel is Mediterranean. And so, next panel is UK, Australia, New Zealand. Last one is in the United States. So if we look at that, we can see that China and Asian countries, if their income level going up, the question is if their income level going up, for example, raising from 11,000 to getting to the income band between 11,000 to 20,000, like other countries, what are the consequences? And here we do see for Mediterranean, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and United States, we see higher proportion of animal-based food consumption. So if China and other developing countries or low-income, middle-income countries get into that nutrition transition, what are the consequences? What are the implications to those countries as well as to the global food supply? And next one is, so I'm going to talk a little bit about food away from home and how this linked to the transformative changes in the production and consumption. So if we look at this figure, compare with in 2023, and if we look at food away from home, we have a 10% increase, and the per capita expenditure for food away from home is more than 4,000. If we look at food at home, which is about less than 2% increase, and per capita expenditure is about $3,000. So the difference in terms of increase or growth rate in the expenditure for those food away from home and food at home kind of reflect the change in the consumer behavior. People are more individual opt to buy food from restaurants or other eating out establishments compared with preparing and eating food at home. And one big change is food delivery. And we all remember how we do food consumption or food purchasing food online during pandemic, right? But this phenomenon, this behavior still persistent after pandemic. So compare with different countries, China is the leading online food delivery markets, and the United States is the second. In 2024, the revenue for food delivery is about $350 billion in the United States, and it's projected to be greater. And if we look at different food delivery apps, and we see 4 different, the leading one is DoorDash. And I remember how my kids order food in college because I can see how much they spend, where they spend. So this is going to be common practice, especially among young adults, right? So the question is, with those changes, how this is going to affect the food marketing, how this is going to affect the dietary quality and nutrition sufficiency, right? And this is different from 10 years ago. And this is going to impact our research as well. And the second one is, with all those changes, we also get access to a big data. Think about if you have the order history of all the individual in one particular platform like DoorDash. What are information we can extract from those data? We can look at their consumption pattern. We can look at their constraints or the determinants of those consumption patterns. For example, Katie mentioned time constraint. And this is definitely one of the determinants for those, right? And this, with such a big data, is going to allow us as agriculture economists to answer more questions regarding the behavior change. And the second one is, what if we can do some experiments using those platforms, right? The experiments, like Rudy's experiment said, well, what if we can give incentive for the fresh produce? And what if we can have discount on those platforms and kind of nudging them to buy more healthy food items? What if we can do experiments, kind of nudge them to be more environmental friendly, right? And one of the experiments we are going to implement with my collaboration with Mai is how we can use the biggest leading online food delivery platform to improve the environmental awareness. And next one is, let's look at the transformative changes in food consumption. So in the past, we talk about processed food, right? Now people are talking about ready meals. And if we look at ready meals markets, it's about 7% of global food marketing in 2024. And China is the largest markets, and contributing about 16% of global revenue. Per capita revenue is about $46 per capita per year. And if we look at the United States, it's the second largest market, and per capita revenue is about 172, only below what for Japan. So the question is, with those ready meal production or industry has been increasing, what are the consequences? How we can leverage this for dietary quality, nutrition quality? And one question I was thinking about, what about lifetime medicine? And among those lifetime medicine concepts, one of the things is food as medicine. So food as medicine, basically we can leverage those, for example, we can leverage ready meals to deliver the food with medical improvement for subsets of the population. So there's a different concepts by different institutes. And I kind of highlight some of them. And let me read the first one. Food is medicine initiated in some cities not only addresses food insecurity, but also targets chronic disease by customizing the food delivered to its recipient. So it's talking about the food delivery, which could be enabled by the technology. It talks about how food actually linked to health, linked to chronic disease, right? Food as medicine is a category of the tailored food-based nutritional interventions specifically linked to the healthcare system that are intended to prevent, treat, and manage chronic disease, often address food and nutrition insecurity. And the next one, I'm going to talk about some research. I collaborate with David and Sanjina. They are on the audience as well. So both Bill and Park talk about the food policy. And Asander talk about individual risk, right? So we would like to see, well, some food policy target individual may have implication for micro level. So I'm going to use the case study of the example regarding the relationship between BMI and life expectancy at the micro level versus macro level. So at micro level, we cannot see this inverse U-shaped relationship. So if your BMI go up, for example, we talk about double burden malnutrition in developing country, right? Developing country. So we have underweight, we have overweight. So BMI go up for those population at the left tail of the distribution, and it's going to be good, right? So life expectancy will go up. But on the right tail, if BMI go up, and we see the reduced life expectancy. So at the individual level, we see that. Now the question, how this can convert at the micro level. All the policy targeting individual level have implication at the macro level. So if we look at the different countries on your left side is between the high income versus low income, and on your right side is for OECD country versus non-OECD country. And the vertical axis is BMI, horizontal axis is life expectancy. So we do see in OECD country and a high income country, we see the relationship is negative, right? So means higher BMI, lower life expectancy. But on the for the low-income country and non-OECD country, we cannot see slightly U-shape, reverse U-shaped curve. So that means at lower BMI, increased BMI could be better at the macro level, increasing the life expectancy on average. So we also look at the marginal effects of average BMI on life expectancy for OECD versus non-OECD. If we look at United States, which on your left panel, and we see increase 1 unit of BMI will reduce life expectancy about 1.4 years. And if we look at the low-income country, which is on your right side, and increased BMI actually will increase, or increase 1 unit of BMI actually increase life expectancy. So sure, there's a disconnection between micro and macro. So why economists does not have too much study around that? Like Alexander mentioned, there's a difference between the medical research versus economics research, right? So in medical research, there are studies talking about the relationship BMI and intervention, food consumption, how this changes the life expectancy. But because we don't observe an individual over the time of their life, so it's hard, it's difficult to get data, it's difficult to have the causality. So using the macro data may help us to understand the association better, which also have implication when we look at the policy and policy at the individual level, the impact versus policy at the macro level, it could be different. Especially for developing countries when they face both underweight and overweight at the same time. And here's all my talk. I'm still on time.